Okay, we have an 8.5 by 11 full-size gold foil sheet. I thought I would do a full-size scene here. I wasn't going to do another one quite so soon. I am enjoying doing this, but someone mentioned to me that while looking for the latest video of this scene right here, they came across my underwater scene. Okay, now I did this scene yesterday, and the ink on here is setting up pretty well. Okay, this is one day ago. And these scenes right here, this is 2 days ago. Okay, now that one's really dry, and I don't feel any residue coming off at all. And this is 3 days ago. And this one has been largely dry. Okay, now if I took my finger and just wiped it across that, I have a feeling that gold would come off, okay? But if I were to mount this and to mail it off somewhere just as is without spray sealing, I'd probably just put some, kind of protective tissue over the front of it. So it does, I mean, I see this type of media combination, media and surface combination being a little bit more fragile, especially without any kind of spray sealing. But I think they're worth it. I think that these, I don't know, just the look of them and whatnot, I find them to be rather dynamic and just kind of worth the extra weight in terms of the drying time and whatnot. Okay, so this underwater scene they were talking about had these crepuscular rays of beams of light coming down into the water, and I thought, oh man, I wasn't going to do the scene or another one of these quite so fast, but I thought I thought that it was the perfect application for this, or a perfect application for this media combination here of gold and white on white and gold on gold. I thought, okay, I have to try this one. So here we are. Okay, so the corner of this card is going to be my source of light. So I'm going to have all these beams emanating from that source up there, okay? So, and we have it flaring out a little bit. I'll try to apply a little bit more of this Moonlight white um, pigment ink towards I'll have more of it at the source of emanation. I mean, I guess the source is really the sun or something like that, but in terms of this scene, it would be that corner there, okay? So, in other words, I'm taking this ink and I'm using a little bit more in that area. And then as I move down here, what I'll do is I'll try to dissipate it a little bit. So I'll use a little bit less ink. You could do it too. I mean, you can kind of break this up. This doesn't have to be a solid, pure beam, okay? I almost think it's better to kind of have it a little bit more irregular. I think it makes for a more realistic looking light beam. I've done it before where it's just one solid beam. Okay, that's the way I was doing it when I first started, but then I thought, maybe where I didn't have it so even, I thought, oh, that even looks better not having it so even. Okay, so I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so see what I mean? I'm dissipating it down here, so I'm using less ink over here because it's farther away. There's less light penetrating the water as you get deeper down here. So see that right there? There's more up top, and then there's less down here. And the top of the beam is heavier in white than the bottom beam, right? Okay, so that's what I'm talking about in terms of variation. Okay, now we'll do the same thing over the course of several beams, okay? And we'll see how this comes out. I don't know. You never really know. With a new, I don't know, whatever, technique and unexplored terrain, okay? Okay, let me see. It's kind of it's weird working with such a reflective surface right here. Because see, as I'm seeing this, I'm looking at the reflection of the underneath this paper too, so I can't tell exactly where it is. And it's just, I don't know, it's just because I haven't really done this, too much before. This is like the third day of doing anything like this. Never really thought about stamping on top of this gold. Well, I have thought about it, but I've tried certain types of media on it before, and or on a similar surface, and it didn't stick at all. Like the holographic paper, I'm still trying to figure out some kind of cool application to use that with, but a lot of things just don't stick to it or dry at all. But this gold one, I am finding that the Brilliance line of inks do dry, but like I said in the beginning, very, very slowly. Okay, so as long as you expect that going into it, you won't be shocked, you know. It's not going to take like 2 weeks for it to dry or something like that, but, you know, a couple days or whatever. Longer than probably any other media that you might have been using in the crafting world. If you're an oil painter, it's no big deal, you know. Okay, so there we go with another beam. So that kind of dissipation right there, heavier on the top, lighter down below. Maybe this is, who knows, 20 feet down or something like that, if you're a diver. But on this one, you don't need to do your work on you. You don't need to keep track of your dive tables, luckily. No bends or embolisms. It's kind of funny, when you're doing these types of scenes like this, it's almost like, you know, the white, the gold, it's like anything can become, almost any type of subject matter can almost become like a Christmas card. Let's say, now I'm doing this on a, you know, 8.5 by 11, and so it's an extreme version, but you can do a smaller card size version of this. But if you have like a you know, a relative or whatever that's into diving or something like that, you know, just doing the scene on gold paper, it's like suddenly that's it's a Christmas card for a diving enthusiast, or it could be anything. You could have someone fishing, you know, and they're a hiker or something like that. You do it on gold paper, you know, fishing is now, you know, a fishing scene is a Christmas card scene, just for the very fact that it's on that type of media. Okay, let's see, is that bright enough, or light enough, I should say, not bright. Okay, getting there. I'm going to do a couple real thin ones here, I think. It's good to kind of vary your beam width and strength. Now, I need to be a little bit careful. Not too careful, but you know, where I'm kind of moving this paper around, it is scraping off some of the ink that I've already applied, but you know, that's just going to happen here. I mean, that ink is just not drying at all right now. It's going to take a couple days, so as you're working on this, you know, it smears and whatnot. Smearing white over gold, or when I'm working with the gold ink, gold over gold though, and as I've been telling people, it's that smearing mark, okay, that you're getting. It's not very apparent. It's kind of a little bit more hidden because of the media combination. I think that piece of paper that I was using was the wrong side. Let's see, which one is... I can't tell what side I was using here. I think that was... one of these sides is cut. Okay. Oh, yeah. Here, let me get this right down here. Okay. a little bit more of a narrow beam like that. So you see, you change the value of your beams, the width of them, kind of have a little bit more kind of varied like that. And I think it looks more, I don't know, we're not going for realism here, you know, stepping on gold paper, but it feels more natural looking to me. Okay. And again, this, I mean, I'm going extreme here with this larger piece. I mean, we can probably do a small card size one of these in no time at all. I just know it. Someone's going to come up with it's going to be at the light beam applicator tool or something like that before too long. It's just going to be this plastic thing with these little beams cut out into it. I joke to people that cotton balls, you're going to see these repackaged sometime, and it's going to be called a blending cloud. I'm into new products and everything like that and innovation, but I'm not into things like that. When people just kind of, I don't know, I don't think they're really thinking about the stamper as much as like an opportunity to, I don't know, to take advantage of them. It really makes me, I don't know, it makes me cringe. Okay, almost done here with the beams. We don't want to go too extreme here. I'm finding with the gold sheets, I think the gold sheets are in themselves, it's so loud and attention-getting a surface that doing too much maybe with certain types of, you know, applications and techniques and whatnot might not be the most conducive to the ideal kind of finish of a piece. It gets a little bit too much. Too busy, I guess we can say. Okay, varying my beam, putting a little bit more on one side of the beam than the next. Let's hit this one up here a little bit more, get a little bit more opacity. These are never truly opaque here. They're more translucent. And when this ink dries too, what happens is they get darker and more, the ink gets more translucent or transparent. It moves towards transparency. So these are going to be darker when dried. I didn't know if it would happen with the Brilliance inks, but apparently it does. I know it works with, that happens with all other types of pigment inks when you're applying them over a darker surface, okay? They just get more transparent, and they move in that direction at least. Okay, so I'm adding some of this. I'm going to try to dissipate a little bit of this, these beams, you know, to soften it up, and I'm adding a little bit more light at the source of the light up top here. I do feel that, see, normally if I wanted to use more ink later on, I would just do it. But I think I want to be done with these beams right now. I don't think I want to be going, after I apply all my imagery in here, to go back in here and to do it over the top of it. Just because the imagery is going to be subject to some smearing, okay? I don't mind if these beams smear a little bit right now, but I don't really want my imagery smearing after I stamp those out. So I'm going to try to get everything that I can here. All right, so this looks pretty good right up here where I'm adding this ink in. And I just feel that building up this white ink up here, I think it looks more like a source of emanation to me, having that in there. What do you think? That? Okay. So let's take a look at, let's see what that looks like. Okay, all right. Let's see, do I want anything else? I'm thinking about one more narrow beam here. Let's just do it while we're doing this here. Just go for a little bit more variation. Okay. Okay, we'll just make it real narrow. I usually do this after I stamp everything out if I'm working in dye-based inks. Or just a dark on-light type of process, but this is light on dark, so... And not only that, but the inks are really thick and slow drying, so we're doing this first, I think. I mean, you can try it the other way around, but I don't know. Like I said, the imagery could smear on you. Okay, so that is that. What do you think? Does that look like some good beams there? I really like the look of these golden beams. Okay, now I've scratched off a lot of the application of ink up top there, so let's go in and add some more of this in here. I mean, this is, you know, these little things like this scraping off of the media. I mean, that's not what I want, okay? But there's certain aspects to this, because that happens up there, is the reason I'm able to use the Brilliance ink on here. So, you know, there's give and take to all these different types of characteristics. Some of the characteristics are rather limiting in terms of this paper being sealed off and these inks not drying so fast, but it's also that aspect of it is allowing me to apply this Brilliance ink on here and to spread it around. If it dried too fast, like it does on porous papers, then I don't think I can do this. It would take me forever to do this because the paper would be really grabbing the ink really fast, and it would be hard to kind of manipulate it. See, on here I can kind of spread it around because it's not drying so fast for me. So, I mean, so for me, I don't use Brilliance when I'm doing this on like on glossy cardstock, these beams. I'm using just a standard pigment ink. Brilliance is a fast-drying ink. Okay, now let's take a look at some different images I'm going to put in here. If you've been a long-time viewer, you might have seen some of my videos on these underwater scenes. I did about 2 or 3 of them. And I use these rocks right here, so it's like the reef or something like that. And it's a simplistic, pretty simplistic composition. A few elements, additional elements in here. I always thought these leaves here could be a land, you know. I drew them as a land element, but I thought, yeah, that could also be like some kelp or something like that. I think it works really well as an underwater type of image. Okay, so this is the Boulders with Lichen here. I need some new Brilliance ink, that's for sure. This pad is getting rather dry. I have one pad that's really dry and one pad that's like super wet, but it's not wet in a good way. It's kind of watery. These pads are like 15, 16 years old, I think. And I hadn't used them for so long, but they still have their ink in there. And these pads are sealed off quite well. You know, you can see there's still ink in here. But, yeah, I'm definitely due for some new ones. Okay, so I don't know how this is going to show up. I never know how any of this is going to work. Okay, some rocks right there. I'm finding that when I'm stamping gold over white, it kind of recesses. I do think, you would think that it would look like by stamping it over the white, it would look like the rocks are in front of the white, but I don't know. I don't think it does. Okay. rocks are just meant to, they've been designed to be stacked, to be stamped side by side, on top of one another, and for it to blend in very naturally, or hopefully. Okay, so we get that right there. It's like the bottom of the seafloor. And I can go for some kind of higher up. Let me try that here. But let's try something here. I haven't done this yet. I'm going to blot it off a little bit, okay? Or, I don't know, one impression worth. I'm going to wipe this off on the base right here. And hopefully when I stamp this out, it'll kind of fade out on the bottom, and it'll be lighter to begin with. So if it's lighter to begin with, maybe in this case it's more translucent, so the paper shows through. If it's darker, hopefully it looks like it's farther away. Okay, and something like that. And I do think it gives it a little bit of depth, which I like. I really like this methodology of just using basically two different types of inks to create all of the depth within a given piece. I think, did I stamp this one out first? I can't even remember. Okay, so see these rocks right here look a little bit closer to us, and these ones farther away. Gosh, it's really hard to tell, to photograph, or even in this video for you to see it. There's so much light being reflected back. It's kind of weird. Okay. And let's just stamp this right now. Wipe off the bottom. Okay, so let's see if I can get a good... Okay, there we go. Kind of. Gotta give you a good view of it. Let's see where I stamped it over the beams. The beams still look like they're in front of the gold. I don't know how it does that. I mean, the gold's in front of the white if you look really close. But, I don't know. I think the white still is, I don't know, it's just the dominant value or whatever color. I don't know. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Okay, let's see. Now, the bottom of the seafloor, let's put some different types of foliage. I always thought this right here, this winter brush, just some leafless little design. I thought that looks kind of like a coral or something like that. And let's blot it off a little bit, and let's put some of this down here on some of these rocks. Okay. Go something like that. Okay, so those little formations looking a little bit more aquatic, don't you think? All right, now, one of the things that I'm kind of learning is that maybe I better not do too much, okay, on this. I mean, that's usually not my recommendation for anyone. You know, I always say, hey, just go for it, you know. Do whatever, build things up, you know. Don't hold back. For me, on this, if I layer too many images, okay, with that such an exciting reflective surface like that, sometimes I think it's a little bit overkill. So what I'm saying is, instead of putting more kind of background brush in here, you know, creatures or whatever, I might just go for my foreground images in here. Okay, so let's go with this one right here. Twisting leaves, large. I feel that it looks real kind of giant sea kelp-ish, and it has that kind of S-curve gesture to it in the design. That's kind of conducive to this, you know, wave, watery action. Okay, Brilliance, Moonlight, White. I guess you can do it in two different colors, but like I said, I think I'm just going to go for one here. If you do it in gold, it'll look like it's kind of farther away, and then if you stamp white over the front of it, but again, I don't want to clutter this too much with different imagery. Okay, now this white here should look a little bit different than the white cotton ball applied. I think this is going to come out stronger, but we'll see. Okay. Yeah. It's a stronger impression. Look at that depth that we achieved from that. Okay. Now, as this ink dries as well, like I said, it becomes more transparent. So gold will be showing through this white. So we're getting a lot of depth right here, but in the end, it won't be quite as deep a space, okay? But it'll still be pretty decent, though. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess these still look, pretty white here, but they're a little bit more translucent in a minute sense, maybe. I can just tell it looks a little bit different than when it did. When I initially stamped it out, of course, it had that little kind of the wet look to it too, but okay, let's see, let's go here. You gotta watch out. I just felt it right now, like when I laid it down, I kind of moved it a little bit. This is like it's almost like using thick paint on a very slick surface, so when you get it down there, just make sure you don't kind of turn it. Yeah, see, I almost got a little double print out of it right there. All right. So I need to be careful about that. Or more careful about it. Okay, so once I lay it down, don't move it. Okay, let's see. Let's go right here. Boy, I think I just moved it again. It is so slippery. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me try it again here. Laying it down. Okay. And don't move it. I don't know, for some reason the first two ones, maybe I started building up a lot more ink on this image right here, so it was like a big slathering of it or something, I don't know. Okay, that's better. So a little bit better impression there than those two right there. Can you see where it kind of moved a little bit? I mean, it's all right. Okay, so got the beams like that. That reflective surface is really, I don't know, it sure is interesting to work with. Okay, so let's do something right here. I have some little fish, okay? This is the salmon. Let's do it in both gold and white, okay? The gold ones, in theory, should look farther away. But we'll see how it goes. Okay, now these ones, I don't want to smear these, so nice light, even impressions. Okay. Boy, when I stamp them over the white, you can't see it at all. Oops, I just touched that white and I smeared some of it. It's not that precarious, I mean, you do have to be careful, but it's not like I'm, stamping on eggshells or whatever around this. Okay. Okay, so there's some fish right there. I don't know, went for even like third or fourth impressions of it. Okay, let's go with the white one right here, okay? Okay, the white one, I have more ink on there, so I think I need to be very careful. You can overlap some of your other fish too, especially if you're doing them in multi-toned, okay? So right there. It really creates a lot of depth though, doesn't it? Maybe those ones in white and various shades of gold, like that. All right. The thing that's surprising to me is the amount of depth that can be achieved just with the use of two inks. Okay. And it's two inks that are just kind of stamped. I'm not using kind of too many variations, I guess, with the double stamping of the gold. But I don't know. I mean, that's certainly fun for me to see that. I really love it, in fact. I'm always wanting depth, and boy, if it can be achieved super easy, hey, all the better. You know, without sacrificing really anything. I don't know, this I guess I'm sacrificing some color, but I don't know, you can try all kinds of different things. There's probably Brilliance green inks and whatever. You can maybe do green kelp on gold paper. You know, all kinds of things, you know, to be kind of investigated here. Okay, I want some additional texture, and that's where the Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White comes in. I recommend a bottle for this for everyone. It's like, I don't know, it's like $11 or so a bottle, I would say. And you can use this for various things. You can put on a paintbrush and put little dot patterns on things, you know, you're stamping some butterflies, put a little pattern on them, or you're doing some stamping some lettering. You can put a little highlight on some letters and make it look more three-dimensional, or like it's capturing some lighting, all kinds of things like that. It's mostly a calligrapher's paint for doing light lettering on dark backgrounds. Okay, so I dipped that in quite a bit, so I'm trying to get off as much of this as I can. And we're going to create this kind of bubbly type of thing down here, I think. So you can do it from the top down, or you can do it from the bottom up, whatever, you know. We'll call it like a, I don't know, like a aquarium or something like that, maybe where the bubbles are coming up from the bottom. Okay, let's see if we can get you in on this here where you can see it. I know there's such a glare here. Let me try to find, okay, here's less glare right now. It adds a kind of a really fun texture, doesn't it? Okay. Maybe I won't go too much over here. That would be overkill. See that right here? Okay. There's actually still some areas on my paper that I can kind of grab onto, and I think I'll do some from right up here. It's like maybe the waters, the churning waters of you know, some waves or something like that. And naturally, maybe you can see, you know, maybe the bubbles are more visible in the light areas, right? Because the light is illuminating the bubbles, the air bubbles. I mean, just that texture right there looks pretty cool, doesn't it? This could be a Christmas card for someone that has an aquarium. Seems like one of those deep space things where it's like a nebula or something like that in there. Okay. Now, these two inks are like complete opposite. This ink right here, this paint, bleed proof white, dries really fast. I would probably take I don't know, a couple minutes for it to dry, even those little drops of it there. Whereas the pigment ink on this glossy metallic really take quite a while to dry. Okay, now let's see here if there's anything else that we can do here. I think I am going to add a few little crystals here. Do I do that? Let's take a look at the white paint pen. I'm trying to think. I've been trying to refrain from using that too much on my golden scenes. I think it's almost too much, but I think on this one with the scale of it, it's so big, I think it could potentially take it and for it to look okay. Okay, so let's come in here a little bit and maybe on some of these kelp branches, I guess. I'll still put a few little highlights on them. Okay, if you can see it at all. I know there's so much light reflecting back at you. Now on this, and this kind of crisp makes this leaf a little bit crisper too, where it, kind of blurred out. But I don't know, someone asked, there's been a lot of comments about, hey, how come you're not getting smearing? Or do you get smearing? And there's smears all over in here, okay? But it's just not quite as apparent. I mean, if you smear like a black ink over white, it definitely shows, okay? And it becomes a factor. But gold on gold, not so much. So in that way, you might say that it's a very forgiving surface, okay? Even the white on gold, it's not that big of a deal if you get a smear or two. Or 3 or 4, I don't know, over this, in this scene, there might be even more than that. But you have to kind of look close for it, and, the areas where it is smeared, it's kind of hard to tell if it's, like a mistake or whatever, or an undesirable mark. Okay, see where this light is coming across here. Maybe I'll put a few little highlights on those leaves that are kind of in that path of that beam, maybe on the side of the beam, or a leaf facing the beam. Okay, so that right in there. See these leaves on the bottom and right here that are in that beam of light. And then what it looks like here, I mean, you really can't even tell, right, at arm's distance, but I don't know, upon closer inspection, then you have all these little dots like that. Look at that spray pattern in there too. It looks, I mean, it's super busy, but this is kind of the viewing distance right here, so it's not really too big of a deal. Okay, so I'm wasting time here. It's because I'm still kind of thinking about whether or not I want a couple of these little crystals in here. Why not? Okay. This is my first 8.5 by 11, so why not? Let's try a couple of these crystals. Okay. This is just some glue here. And I'll put some glue down on here. You can put it in between some of the beams. I'll put a crystal on the beam itself. I'll figure out a kind of a pattern of this, for these crystal applications at some point in time. But I just started using them recently, so like very recently. So I'm kind of still not exactly sure where I want those types of embellishments. Okay. Maybe I'll put kind of a larger crystal on the lower part of the beams where we're kind of viewing the scene from, okay? And then maybe I'll have some smaller ones up there. So larger down here, smaller ones up there. It's kind of going back in perspective. Okay. I'm probably putting too big of a dollop of glue here, but so be it. It's a pretty big scene, so all right. We have, what is that, 12 different sizes of these crystals right here. This thing costs like $6. um, and they're a lot of fun. For me, at least, I don't know. You guys have probably been using these types of things for a while. I haven't been using it. In fact, I think the time when I was thinking about doing it for the first time, I think I was teaching at a store here in San Diego, and I said, yeah, I want to get some rhinestones. And someone said, oh, not rhinestones. It's not rhinestones, Kevin. It's crystals. You want to get crystals. I didn't know what was out there. I don't know. I think on the description of these ones said crystal rhinestones, but I don't know. I didn't even know there was like a difference. Maybe rhinestones were like used for clothes or something. I don't know. Okay, so anyways, here's a couple of them right here. See right there in that beam, and here's the other one right down here. So just some extra little kind of reflective embellishments right here. See it right here and here. Okay. Okay, so let's go up and let's see. That was a 7. These might be out of order. It seems like they're out of order to me. Unless this is just a general case for them. I don't even know if there's really 12 different sizes, or like a couple different sizes are in the different numbers. Okay, I thought I would have a hard time spotting where I put that glue, but I can kind of see a little raised area where where it is. Okay, let's go quite a bit smaller. I'll go quite a bit smaller for these ones up here. This one, I don't know, since it's 2. This is a gem picker someone told me about on, I think a comment on the YouTube channel, or it might have been on Facebook. Thank you for that tip. Thanks to everyone for all the tips and comments. I don't really know a lot of accessories and brands and things like that. Someone told me about the heat setting, reminded me about the heat setting from the back, and something like that. I remember hearing about that before, but it's been so many years, so I kind of forget about a lot of that type of stuff. So, okay, these ones are really dinky here, so. Okay. Actually, I can probably use a lot more of them in this area here, because they kind of get lost a little bit amongst all that texture. Okay, so I think I have that all in there. It was 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay, and I don't know, when you're talking about a little crystal like that, it's usually not something we wouldn't consider that subtle. Okay, but I think in this instance it kind of becomes, see those little twinkly little bits in here. Okay, so there's, see that right there, reflecting. This one right here. See that right there? So again, kind of oops, I gotta really be careful where I'm holding this. See those little crystals like that, that. I didn't have any out here. I guess you could put them if you want to have more attention to it, but all right. Yeah, look at crystal here and here. Okay, so what you see right here is not what we'll see kind of eventually when it dries, but it'll be somewhat similar. These ones right here will just kind of, they'll blend into the background slightly more, but I don't know. I think it looks pretty interesting, and I think it turns out pretty good in terms of an underwater type of scene. So if you have a mermaid stamp or something like that, or underwater scenes, when I started doing this, people started pulling out their underwater stuff and awesome stuff, shipwrecks and whatever, and things like that. Now you can do them in gold if you want to, but the thing that I like about those ones, I like those fish a lot. I don't know, they almost look three-dimensional to me. This kelp down here, I wish I didn't kind of blur those out right there, but I got it back together again with that impression right there. I really like this area right here, though. with all that pigment ink kind of splattered around there, and then the splatter painting. So it's like a really source of emanation. It's like you get that kind of glare up there, you know, but that's what it looks like it's doing, just as is. Doesn't it look like light is coming from that? I'm always looking for this kind of opportunity in scenes to give the kind of illusion of light coming from within the card, and I think that really looks like, you know, light coming from within in this type of surface here. So the surface is really beneficial in terms of light reflection and light emanation, and you know, I don't know, whatever the illusion of light itself. So that's really fun. But look at that right there, with a lot of pigment ink. So I don't know, more things to kind of explore on this surface. Just be careful about where you touch it when you're doing these things. I smeared here and there, but like I said, the overall piece, you know, there's probably 20 smears in here. I probably have fingerprints in that, you know, these applications of white ink in here and probably in here. But overall, I don't think it really shows up, you know, so it's not really any big deal. But okay, so anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, drop me a note in the comments section. Thanks for watching.